Okay, Yolanda, baby, but I'm still gonna read. I'm still gonna read. I am on chapter 2. I'm on chapter 2. For those of you that's just coming in, I am reading Stephanie Meyer's Twilight Breaking Dawn. I'm reading the Twilight Saga in reverse. So, I'm on chapter 2, Lego. And as y'all can see, I got my dollar bills as my bookmarks. Okay, we're starting off on page 26, chapter 2. By this point, then, shouldn't we have you slept at all in the last month? But this is the dress rehearsal, I reminded him. And we've only practiced certain scenes. It's no time for playing safe. I thought he would laugh, but he didn't answer, and his body was motionless. With sudden stress, the gold in his eyes seemed to harden from liquid to a solid. I thought over my words, realized what he would have heard in them. Bella, he whispered, don't start this again. I said, a deal is a deal. I don't know. It's too hard to concentrate when you're with me like this. I, I can't think straight. I won't be able to control myself. You'll get hurt. I'll be fine. Bella. I pressed my lips into his to stop his panic attack. I heard it before. He wasn't getting out of his he wasn't getting out of this deal. Not after insisting I marry him first. He kissed me back for a moment, but I could tell he wasn't as into it as before. Worrying, always worrying. How different it would be when he didn't need to worry about me anymore. What about he do with all his free time? Oh, wait, I skipped the line. He kissed me he kissed me back for a moment, but I can tell he wasn't he wasn't as into it as before. Worrying. Always worrying. How different it would be when he didn't need to worry about me anymore. What would he do with all his free time? He'd have to get a new hobby. How are your feet? He asked. Knowing How are your feet? He asked. Knowing he didn't mean that literally, I answered, toastily warm. Really? No second thoughts? It's not too late to change your mind. Are you trying to ditch me? He chuckled, just making sure. I didn't want you to do anything you're not sure about. I'm sure about you. The rest I can live through. He hesitated, and I wondered if I put my foot in my mouth again. Can you? He asked quietly. I don't mean the wedding, which I'm positive you will survive despite your qualms. But afterwards, what about Renee? What about Charlie? I sighed. I'll miss them. Worse, that they would miss me, but I didn't want to give him any fuel. Angela and Ben and Jessica and Mike. I'll miss my friends too. I smiled in the darkness, especially Mike. Oh, Mike. How will I go on? He growled. I laughed, but then was serious. Edward, we've been through this and through this. I know it will be hard, but this is what I want. I want you, and I want you forever. One lifetime is simply not enough for me. Frozen forever at 18, he whispered. Every woman's dream come true. I teased. Never changing. Never moving forward. What does that mean? He answered slowly. Do you remember when we told Charlie we were getting married and he thought you were pregnant? And he thought about shooting you. I guessed with a laugh, admitted. For a second, he honestly considered it. He didn't answer. What, Edward? I just wish. Well, I wish that he'd been right. Ah, I gasped. More that there was some way he could have been. That we had that kind of potential. I hate taking that away from you, too. It took me a minute. I know what I'm doing. How could you know that, Bella? Looking at my mother, look at my sister. It's not easy as a sacrifice as you imagine. Esme and Rosalie get by just fine. If it's a problem later, we can do what Esme did. We'll adopt. He sighed, and then his voice was fierce. It's not right. I don't want you to have to make sacrifices for me. I want to give you things, not take things away from you. I don't want to steal your future. If I were human, I put my hand over his lips. You are my future. Now stop. No moping. Or I'm calling your brothers to come and get you. Maybe you need a bachelor party. I'm sorry. I'm moping? Aren't I? I must be the nerves. Are your feet cold? Not in that sense. I've been waiting a century to marry you, Miss Swan. The wedding ceremony is the one thing I can't wait. He broke off in mid thought. Oh, for the love of all that's holy. What's wrong? He gritted his teeth. You don't have to call my brothers. Apparently, Emmett and Jasper are not going to let me bow out tonight. I clutched him closer for 1 second and then released him. I didn't have a prayer of winning a tug of war with Emmett. Have fun. There was a squeal against the window. Someone deliberately scraping their steel nails across the glass to make a horrible cover your ears, goosebumps down your spine noise. I shuddered. If you don't send Edward out, Emmett, still invisible in the night, hissed menacingly. We're coming in after him. Go, I laughed. Before they break my house. Edward rolled his eyes, but he got back to his feet in one fluid movement and had his shirt back on in another. He leaned down and kissed my forehead. Get to sleep. You've got a big date tomorrow. Thanks. That's sure to help me wind down. I'll meet you at the altar. Hey, rare baby. I'll be the one in white. I smiled at how perfectly blasé I sounded. He chuckled, said, very convincing. And then suddenly sank into a crouch, his muscles coiled like a spring. He vanished, launching himself out my window too swiftly for my eyes to follow. Outside, there was a muted thud. And then I heard Emmett curse. You better not make him late, I murmured, knowing they could hear. And then Jasper's face was peering in my window, his honey hair silver in the weak moonlight that worked through the clouds. Don't worry, Bella. We'll get him home in plenty of time. I was suddenly very calm, and my qualms all seemed unimportant. Jasper was, in his own way, just as talented as Alice with her uncannily accurate predictions. Jasper's medium was moods rather than the future, and it was impossible to resist feelings the way he wanted you to feel. I sat up awkwardly, still tangled in my blanket. Jasper, what do vampires do for bachelor's parties? You're not taking him to a strip club, are you? Don't tell her anything, Emmett growled from below. There was another thud, and Edward laughed quietly. Relax, Jasper told me, and I did. We Cullens have our own version. Just a few mountain lions, a couple of grizzly bears. Pretty much an ordinary night out. I wondered if I would ever be able to sound so cavalier about the vegetarian vampire diet. Thanks, Jasper. He winked and dropped from sight. It was completely silent outside. Charlie's muffled snores droned through the walls. I lay back against my pillow, sleepy now. I stared at the walls of my little room, bleach paled in the moonlight from heavy eyelids. My last night in my room. My last night as Isabella Swan. Tomorrow night, I would be Bella Cullen, though the whole marriage ordeal was a thorn in my side. I had to admit that I liked the sound of that. I let my mind wander idly for a moment. Sleep to take me. But after a few minutes, I found myself more alert, anxiety creeping back into my stomach, twisting it into uncomfortable positions. The bed seemed too soft, too warm without Edward in it. Jasper was far away, and all the peaceful, relaxed feelings were gone with him. It was going to be a very long day tomorrow. I was aware that most of my fears were stupid. I just had to get over myself. Attention was an inevitable part of life. I couldn't always blend in with the scenery. However, I did have a few specific worries that were completely valid. First, there was the wedding dress train. Alice clearly had let her artistic senses overpower practicalities on that one. Maneuvering the Cullens staircase in heels and a train sounded impossible. I should have practiced. Then there was the guest list. Tanya's family. the Denali clan would be arriving sometime before the ceremony. It would be touchy to have Tanya's family in the same room with our guests, the Quillettes reservation, Jacob's father, and the Clearwaters. The Denalis were no fans of the werewolves. In fact, Tanya's sister Irina was not coming to the wedding at all. Still nursed a I'm sorry. She still nursed a vendetta against the werewolves for killing her friend Laurent. Parentheses, you guys. I hate doing this, but parentheses. Just as he was about to kill me. Thanks to that grudge, the Denalis had abandoned Edward's family in their worst hour of need. It had been the unlikely alliance with Colette's wolves that had all our lives when the horde of newborn vampires had attacked. Edward had promised me it wouldn't be dangerous to have the Denalis near the Colettes. Tanya and all her family, besides Irina, felt horribly guilty for that defection. A truce with the werewolves was a small price to make up some of the debt, a price they were prepared to pay. That was the problem. But there was a small problem too, my fragile self-esteem. I've never seen Tanya before, but I was sure that meeting her wouldn't be a pleasant experience for my ego. Once upon a time, before I was born, probably, she'd made her play for Edward. Not that I blamed her or anyone else for wanting him still. She would be beautiful at the very least and magnificent at the best. Though Edward clearly, if inconceivably, preferred me, I wouldn't be able to help making comparisons. I had grumbled a little until Edward, who knew my weakness, made me feel guilty. We're the closest thing they have to family, Bella, he reminded me. They still feel like orphans, after all this time. So I conceded, hiding my frown. Tanya had a big family now, almost as big as the Cullens. There were 5 of them. Tanya, Kate, and Irina had been joined by Carmen and Eleazar, much the same way the Cullens had been joined by Alice and Jasper. All of them bounded by the desire to live more compassionately than normal vampires did. For all the company, though Tanya and her sisters were still alone in one way. Still in mourning, because a very long time ago, they'd had a mother too. I could imagine the hole that loss would leave, even after 1,000 years. I tried to visualize the Cullen family without their creator, their center, and their guide. Their father, Carla, I couldn't see it. Carla had explained Tanya's history one of the many nights I stayed at the Cullens' home, learning as much as I could, preparing as much as was possible for the future I'd chosen. Tanya's mother's story was one among many, a cautionary tale illustrating just one of the rules I would need to be aware of when I joined the immortal world. Okay, you guys, I'm going to use the restroom, but I'm taking my dollar and I'm taking it as a place marker. Okay, so the last word I was on was world. And we on page 34, paragraph 13, word 264. Only one rule. Actually, one law that broken down into a thousand different faucets. Keep the secret. Keeping the secret meant a lot of things. Living inconspicuously like the Cullens, moving on before humans could suspect that they were aging, or keeping clear of humans altogether, except at mealtime. The way nomads like James and Victoria had lived, the way Jasper friends, Peter and Charlotte still lived, it meant keeping control of whatever new vampires you created, like Jasper had done when he lived with Maria, like Victoria had failed to do with her newborns. And it meant not creating some things in the first place, because some creations were uncontrollable. I don't know Tanya's mother's name, Carla had admitted. His golden eyes, almost the exact shade of his fair hair, sad with remembering Tanya's pain. They never speak of her if they can avoid it, never thinking of her willingly. The woman who created Tanya, Kate, and Irina, who loved them, I believed, lived many years before I was born, during a time of plague in our world, the plague of immortal children. What what they were thinking, those ancient ones, I can't begin to understand. They created vampires out of humans who were barely more than infants. I had to swallow back the bile that rose in my throat as I pictured what he was describing. They were very beautiful, Carlyle explained, quickly seeing my reaction. So endearing, so enchanting, you can't imagine. I don't think y'all can hear me, so let me drag this up a little bit. Let me drag this up a little bit, and let me zoom out. All right, that should be better. Okay, where was I? Okay, you had but to be near them, to love them. It was an automatic thing. Page 34, chapter 2. However, they could not be taught. They were frozen at whatever level of development they'd achieve, being bitten. Adorable 2-year olds with dimples and lisps that could destroy a half a village in one of their tantrums if they hungered. They fed, and no words of warning could restrain them. Humans saw them, stories circulated, fear spread like fire and dry brush. Tanya's mother created such a child. As with the other ancients, I could not fathom her reason. He'd taken a deep, steadying breath. The Volturi became involved. Of course, I flinched, as I always did at that name. But of course, the legion of Italian vampires, royalty, in their own estimation, was central to this story. They couldn't be a law if there wasn't no punishment. There couldn't be a punishment if there was no one to deliver it. The ancients, Arrow, Cassius, and Marcus, ruled the Vittori forces. I'd only met them once. But in that brief encounter, it seemed to me that Arrow, with his powerful mind reading gift, one touch, with one touch, and he knew every thought a mind ever held, was the true leader. The Volturi studied the immortal children at home in Volterra and all around the world. Cassius decided the young ones were incapable of protecting our secret. and so they had to be destroyed. I told you they were lovable. Well, covens fought to the last man, were utterly decimated to protect them. The carnage was not as widespread as the Southern wars on this continent, but more devastating in its own way. Long established covens, old traditions, friends. Much was lost. In the end, the practice was completely eliminated. The immortal children became unmentionable, a taboo. When I lived with the Volturi, I met two immortal children, so I know firsthand the appeal they had. Arrows studied the little ones for many years. After the catastrophe they caused was over, you know how inquisitive disposition. He was hopeful that they could be tamed, but in the end, the decision was unanimous. The immortal children could not be allowed to exist. I'd all but forgotten the Denali sisters' mother when the story returned to her. It is unclear precisely what happened with Tanya's mother, Carlisle had said. Tanya, Kate, and Irina were entirely oblivious the day the Volturi came for them. Their mother and her illegal creation, their prisoners. It was ignorance that saved Tanya's and her sisters' lives. Adaro touched them and saw their total innocence. They so they were not punished with their mother. None of them had ever saw the boy before or dreamed of his existence until the day they watched him burn in their mother's arms. I can only guess their mother had kept her secret to protect them from this exact outcome. But why had she created him in the first place? Who was he? And what had he meant to her that would cause her to cross this most uncrossable of lines? Tanya and the rest, Tanya and the others never received an answer to any of these questions, but they could not doubt their mother's guilt, and I don't think they've ever truly forgiven her. Even with Arrow's perfect assurance that Tanya, Kate, and Irina were innocent, Cassius wanted them to burn, guilty by association. They were lucky that Arrow felt like being. Merciful that day. Tanya and her sisters were pardoned, but left with unhealing hearts and a very healthy respect for the law. I'm not sure where exactly the memory turned into a dream. One moment it seemed that I was listening to Carlyle in my memory, looking at his face. And then a moment later, I was looking at a gray, barren field and smelling the thick scent of burning incense in the air. I was not alone there. The huddle of figures in the center of the field, all shrouded in ashy cloaks, should have terrified me. They could only be Volturi, and I was against what they decreed as our last meeting. Still human, but I knew as I sometimes did in my dreams that I was invisible to them. Scattered all around me were smoking heaps. I recognized the sweetness in the air and did not examine the mounds too closely. I had no desire to see the faces of the vampires they had executed, half afraid that I might recognize someone in the smoldering pyres. The Volturi stood in a circle around something or someone, and I heard the whispery voices raised in my agitation. I heard close to the cloaks, compelled the dream to see whether or person they were examining with such intensity. Creeping carefully between two of the tall, hissing shrouds, I finally saw the object of their debate. Raised up on a little hillock above them, he was beautiful, adorable, just as Carlyle described. The boy was a toddler, maybe 2 years of age. Light brown curls framed the cherubic face with its round cheeks and full lips, and was trembling his eyes as if he was too frightened to watch death coming close to the second. I was struck with such a powerful need to save the lovely, terrified child that the Volturi, despite all their devastating menace, no longer mattered to me. I shoved past them, not caring if they realized my presence. Breaking free altogether, I sprinted towards the boy, only to stagger to a halt as I got a clear view of the hillock that he sat upon. It was not earth and rock, but a pile of human bodies drained and lifeless. Too late not to see these faces. I knew them all. Angela, Ben, Jessica, Mike, and directly beneath the adorable boy were the bodies of my father and my mother. The child opened his bright blood red colored eyes. Chapter 3, Big Day. My own eyes flew open. I lay shivering and gasping in my warm bed for several minutes, trying to break free of the dream. The sky outside my window turned gray and then pale pink while I waited for my heart to slow. When I was fully back to the reality of my messy, familiar room, I was a little annoyed with myself. What a dream to have the night before my wedding. That's what I got for obsessing over disturbing stories in the middle of the night. Eager to shake off the nightmare, I got dressed and headed down to the kitchen long before I needed to. First, I cleaned the already tidy rooms, and then when Charlie was up, I made him pancakes. I was too keyed up to have any interest in eating breakfast myself. I sat bouncing in my seat where I ate. You're picking me up, Mr. Weber, at 3 o'clock? I reminded him, I don't have that much to do today besides bringing minister, bringing the minister bells. I'm not likely to forget my only job. Charlie had taken the entire day off for the wedding, and he was definitely to the closest under the stairs where he kept his fishing gear. That's not your only job. You also have to be dressed and presentable. He scowled into his cereal bowl and muttered the words monkey suit under his breath. There was a brisk tapping on the floor door. There was a brisk tapping on the floor on the front door. You think you'd have it bad, I said, grimacing as I rose. Alice will be working on me all day long. Charlie nodded thoughtfully, conceding that he did have the lesser ordeal. I ducked in to kiss the top of his head as I passed. He blushed and hum, and then continued on to get the door for my best girlfriend and soon to be sister. Alice's short black hair was not in its usual spiky do. It was smooth into a sleek pink curls around her pixie face, which wore a contrastingly businesslike expression. She dragged me from the house with a barely, "Hey Charlie," called over her shoulder. Alice appraised me as I got into her Porsche. Oh hell! Look at your eyes! She tisked in reproach. What did you do? Stay up all night? Almost. She glowered. I've only allotted so much time to make you stunning, Bella. You might have taken better care of my raw material. No one expects me to be stunning. I think the bigger problem is that I might fall asleep during the ceremony and not be able to say I do at the right part, and then Edward would make his escape. Then Edward would make his escape. She laughed. I'll throw my bouquet at you when it gets that close. Thanks. At least you'll have plenty of time to sleep on the plane tomorrow. I raised one eyebrow. Tomorrow? Well, well, we weren't going to Boise, Idaho. Edward hadn't dropped a single hint. I wasn't too stressed about the mystery, but it was strange. Not knowing where I would be sleeping tomorrow night, or hopefully not sleeping. Alice realized that she'd given something away and she frowned. You're all packed and ready? She said to distract me. It worked. Alice, I wish you would let me pack my own things. It would have given too much away and denied you an opportunity to shop. You'll be my sister officially in 10 hours. It's about time to get over this aversion to new clothes. Okay, you guys. Um, it's time for my midnight snack. Y'all follow me. Y'all follow me. I'm gonna read the book, but um, I'm a little, in the nude. I got on my long johns, and they're kind of loose, and my cakes are out. Okay, okay, okay. Let me read a passage before I go warm up my chicken patties. Hold up, wait. Okay, page 41. I glowered groggily out the windshield until we were almost to the house. Is he back yet? I asked. Don't worry, he'll be there before the music starts. But you don't get to see him. No matter when he gets back. We're doing this the traditional way. I snorted. Traditional? Okay, aside from the bride and groom, he's already peaked. Oh no. That's why I'm the only one who's seen you in the dress. I've been very careful not to think about it when he's around. Well, as we turned into the drive, I see you got to reuse your graduation decorations. 3 miles drive. We're once again wrapped in hundreds of thousands of twinkle lights. This time, she added white satin bows. Waste not, want not. Enjoy this because you don't get to see the inside decorations until it's time. She pulled into the cavernous garage north of the main house. Emmett's big Jeep was still gone. Since when is the bride not allowed to see the decorations? I protested. Since she put me in charge. Okay, guys. Um, Let me go get my dollars and let me put the bookmarks, my dollar bookmarks where they belong. Well, hey, King Ping. All right, y'all. I'm about to warm up my chicken patties, but I'm about to finish this section. We are on chapter 3, page 41. King Payne, we are reading Twilight Breaking Dawn. Oh, crud. Voulez-vous s'envoler? King Peng, you can't crash nothing, but you're more than welcome to join. King Peng, I cooked earlier today. I did red beans and rice, baked chicken, and I did potato salad. You should have been here earlier today. I always cook. I cook like Big Mama. I cook like Big Mama, period. But this is just a snack. This is just a snack. But hey, King Pang, no shade, no tea. I kind of miss your petty ass coming over here. But I just got my channel back. King Pang, I was blocked for 3 months. All right, you guys. We about to start again. We about to start again. But King Payne, yes, I was blocked for 3 months. And that was my first time ever being blocked. But anyway, okay. Let's start again, you guys. Let's start again. Since she put me in charge, I want you to get the full impact coming down the stairs. She clapped her hands over my eyes before she let me inside the kitchen. I was immediately assailed by the scent. What is that? I wondered as she guided me into the house. Is it too much? Alice's voice was abruptly worried. You're the first human in here. I hope I got it right. It smells wonderful, I assured her, almost intoxicating. But not at all overwhelming. The balance of the different fragrances was subtle and flawless. Orange blossoms, lilac, and something else. Am I right? Very good, Bella. You only miss the freesia and the roses. She didn't uncover my eyes until we were in her oversized bathroom. I stared at the long counter, covered in all the paraphernalia of a beauty salon. Hey, Tracy. And began to feel my sleepless night. Is this really necessary? I'm going to look plain next to him no matter what. She pushed me down into a low pink chair. No one will dare to call you plain when I'm through with you. Only because they're afraid you'll suck their blood? I muttered. I leaned back into the chair and closed my eyes, hoping I'd be able to nap through it. I did drift in and out a little bit, but while she masked, buffed, and polished every surface of my body, it was after lunchtime when Rosalie glided past the bathroom door in a shimmery silver gown with her golden hair piled up in a soft crown on top of her head. She was so beautiful it made me want to cry. What was even the point of dressing up with Rosalie around? They're back, Rosalie said, and immediately my childish fit of despair passed. Edward was home. Keep him out of here. He won't cross you today, Rosalie reassured. He values his life too much. Esme's got them finishing things up out back. Do you want some help? I could do her hair. My jaw fell open. Wait. I floundered around in my head, trying to remember how to close it. I had never been Rosalie's favorite person in the world. Then, making things even more strained between us, she was personally offended by the choice I was making now. Though she had her impossible beauty, her loving family, and her soulmate in Emmett, she would have traded it all to be human. And here I was, callously throwing away everything she wanted in life like it was garbage. It didn't exactly warm her to me. Sure, Alice said easily. You can start braiding. I want it intricate. The veil goes here. Her hands started combing through my hair, hefting it, twisting it, illustrating in details what she wanted. When she was done, Rosalie's hands replaced hers, shaping my hair with a feather-like touch. Okay, you guys, hold on. My food is done. Hold on. God, these long johns. Okay, guys, I'm about to start again. Hold up, wait. First and foremost, I need to eat first. So, what we about to do is take a few bites out of this. Well, I'm gonna take two big bites out of this, and I'm gonna finish reading this book. I'm gonna finish reading this book. Hold on, wait. Okay, hold on. Alice moved back to my face. Once Rosalie received Alice's commendation on my hair, she went off to retrieve my dress and then to locate Jasper, who had been dispatched to pick up my mother and her husband Phil from their hotel. Downstairs, I could faintly hear the door opening and closing over and over. Voices began to float up to us. Oh, crud. Y'all can't see me. Okay. Alice made me stand so that she could ease the dress over my hair and makeup. My knees shook so badly as she fastened the long line of pearls buttoned up my back at the satin quivered in little wavelets down to the floor. Deep breaths, Bella, deep breaths, Alice said, and then to lower your heart rate. You're going to sweat off your new face. I gave her the best sarcastic expression I could manage. Excuse me. I'll get right on that. I have to get dressed now. Can you hold yourself together for 2 minutes? Um, maybe. She rolled her eyes and darted out the door. I concentrated on my breathing, counting each movement of my lungs, and stared at the patterns that the bathroom light made on the shiny fabric of my skirt. I was afraid to look in the mirror, afraid the image of myself in the wedding dress would send me over the edge into a full-scale panic attack. Alice was back before I had taken 200 breaths in a dress that flowed down her slender body like a silvery waterfall. Alice, wow. It's nothing. No one will be looking at me today. Not while you're in the room. Har har. Now, are you in control of yourself, or do I have to bring Jasper up here? They're back. Is my mom here? She just walked in the door. She's on her way up. Renee had flown in 2 days ago, and I'd spent every minute I could with her. Every minute that I could pry her away from Esme and the decorations. In other words, as far as I could tell, she was having more fun with this than a kid locked inside Disneyland overnight. In a way, I felt almost as cheated as Charlie, all that wasted terror over her reaction. Oh, Bella, she squealed, now gushing before she was all the way through the door. Oh, honey, you're so beautiful. Oh, I'm going to cry. Alice, you're amazing. You and Esme should go into business as wedding planners. Where did you find this dress? It's so gorgeous. So graceful, so elegant. Bella, you look like you just stepped out of a Austin movie. Hold on, y'all. I am Bougetto. Hold on. Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry to everybody that's in here. I'm sorry, y'all. I got enraptured in this book. My imagination had kicked in. My mother's voice sounded like my mother's voice sounded a little distance away, and everything in the room was slightly blurry. Such a creative idea. Designing the theme around Bella's ring. So romantic. Tracy, are you still here? Oh, I gotta go back now. That threw me off. That threw me off. My mother's voice sounded a little distance away, and everything in the room was slightly blurry. Such a creative idea. Designing the theme around Bella's ring. So romantic. To think it's been in Edward's family since 1800s. Alice and I exchanged a brief conspiratorial look. My mom was off on the dress style by more than 100 years. The wedding wasn't actually centered around the ring, but Edward himself. There was a loud, gruff throat clearing in the doorway. Renesmee, Renee, Esme said it's time you got settled down. Charlie said. Well, Charlie, don't you look dashing? Renee said in a tone that was almost shocked, that might have explained the crustiness of Charlie's answer. Alice got to me. Is it that? Is it really time already? Renee said to herself, sounding almost as nervous as I felt. This has all gone so fast, I feel dizzy. That made two of us. Give me a hug before I go down, Renee insisted. Carefully now, don't tear anything. My mother squeezed me gently around the waist, then wheeled for the door, only to complete the spin and face me again. Oh, goodness, I almost forgot. Charlie, where's the box? My dad rummaged in his pockets for a minute, then produced a small white box, which he handed to Renee. Renee lifted the lid and held it out to me. Something blue, she said. Something old, too. They were your grandma's swans, Charlie added. We had a jeweler replace the pot stones with sapphires. Inside the box were two heavy silver hair combs. Dark blue sapphires were clustered into intricate floral shapes atop the teeth. My throat got all thick. Mom, Dad, you shouldn't have. Alice wouldn't let us do anything else, Renee said. Every time we tried, she got all but ripped. She, Every time we tried, she all but ripped our throats out. A historical giggle burst through my lips. Alice stepped up and quickly slid both combs into my hair under the edges of my thick braids. That's something old and something blue, Alice mused, taking a few steps back to admire me. And your dress is new. So here, she flicked something at me. I held my hands out automatically, and the filmy white garter landed into my palms. That's mine, and I want it back, Alice told me. I blushed. There, Alice said with satisfaction. A little color. That's all you needed. You are officially perfect. With a little self-congratulatory smile, she turned to my parents. Renee, you need to get downstairs. Yes, ma'am. Renee blew me a kiss and hurried out the door. Charlie, would you grab the flowers, please? While Charlie was out of the room, Alice hooked the garter out of my hands and then ducked under my skirt. I gasped and tottered as her cold hand caught my ankle. She yanked the garter into place. She was back on her feet before Charlie returned with two frothy white bouquets. The scent of roses and orange blossoms from freesia enveloped me in a soft mist. Rosalie, the best musician in the family, next to Edward, began playing the piano downstairs. Potchable. Cannon. I began hyperventilating. Easy bells, Charlie said. He turned to Alice nervously. She looks a little sick. Do you think she's going to make it? His voice sounded far away. I couldn't feel my legs. She'd better. Alice stood in front of me and on her tippy toes to better stand me in the eye and grip my wrist in her hard focus. Focus, Bella. Edward is waiting for you down there. I took a deep breath, willing myself into composure. The music slowly morphed into a new song. Charlie nudged me. Bells, we're up to bat. Bella? Alice asked, still holding my gaze. Yes, I squeaked. Edward, okay. I let her pull me from the room with Charlie tagging along at my elbow. The music was louder in the hall. It floated up the stairs along with the fragrance of a million flowers. I concentrated on the idea of Edward waiting for me. Okay, you guys, it is almost 3 o'clock my time. Well, to certain people time is almost 3. So, I'm about to get off of here. I'm about to eat this food and I'm going to bed. Book club will resume tomorrow morning whenever I wake up. So okay. Book club will resume. Book club will resume whenever I wake up. So like if I'm in my bed and I'm nude, just know I can see all the words in that book. And I got on my long johns. So I am taking this book to bed with me. And you guys, whenever I wake up, we are gonna read. Cause tomorrow I think I'm gonna read a couple chapters. So you guys tell a friend, tell a kin, tell that fat bouton you can stand. Tell them hit up my Cash App, my PayPal. Oh, thank you, Christopher. Oh wow, I got new fans when it come down to reading books. But you guys, this was fun. I will see you guys in a couple hours. Okay? Deuces.